All description she does of the Portland hospital, the birth, that was completely fabricated. We all know the first interview was given to CBS. We all know that she never intended to go to the Portland hospital. She intended to have the baby at home. We know that they deceived the public about the birth data and time of the whole event. As Meghan, but it's worse because she's an actress. She's got no stake in this country. But Harry, a former army officer, betraying the army, his country, his family, his father, dumping on the king.
What if everything you thought you knew about Harry and Meghan was built on lies? What if the fairy tale was actually a calculated con game that fooled the entire world? Because right now, explosive secret recordings have just surfaced that could destroy everything the Sussexes have worked to build.
Harry has actually gone out of his way to undermine everything that we stand for. He's gone out of his way to undermine the family, the institution, everything.
Harry's world is crumbling. And these aren't just rumors or tabloid gossip anymore. We're talking about actual audio evidence that allegedly exposes a side of Meghan that nobody was supposed to hear. The kind of evidence that makes palace insiders go pale and lawyers start making emergency phone calls. For the past few years, Prince Harry thought he'd weathered the worst storms. Sure, his memoir Spare had caused family rifts that might never heal. Yes,
I almost understood. She's a Hollywood B-list to be charitable actress. She was a social climber.
their Netflix documentary had aired every piece of dirty royal laundry for the world to see. But Harry believed they'd found their footing in California, building their new life away from the suffocating palace walls. He couldn't have been more wrong. Because Tom Bower was quietly working in the shadows. And Tom Bower doesn't play games.
Even it goes down to the lawyer. The lawyer saying that in that statement, when they have that long attack on the Mail, which is astonishing, that Meghan...
This is the man who spent decades systematically dismantling the carefully constructed images of powerful people. He's the biographer who makes billionaires sweat and politicians lose sleep. When Bower sets his sights on you, he doesn't just write an exposé. He builds an airtight case that's impossible to escape.
Be shocked that we're sitting here today discussing her son as an outright liar, as a man who conspired with Meghan.
And now he's done something that has sent shockwaves through both Montecito mansions and Buckingham Palace corridors. He's obtained recordings, secret audio that allegedly captures Meghan in completely unguarded moments, saying things that were never meant to see the light of day. Here's what makes these tapes so devastating. They don't just reveal private conversations.
Why she's so easy to upset when it comes to bad press. But Harry is, he's the grandson.
According to multiple sources who've heard excerpts, these recordings expose what appears to be a master plan. A step-by-step blueprint for leveraging royal connection, manipulating public sympathy, and building a media empire worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But here's where it gets truly explosive. One particular recording allegedly captures Meghan discussing the power of maternal imagery in building public connection.
She lied in her statement that she says that she didn't cooperate with them at Scobie, and she said that she didn't consult anyone with writing the letter to her father. That was in a sworn...
The exact quote that's got everyone talking. People instinctively connect with stories about mothers protecting their children. That's your golden ticket to empathy, and empathy translates directly into influence and financial opportunity. Now, to some, this might sound like basic public relations strategy, but to others, it's a smoking gun that suggests the entire narrative of devoted motherhood was carefully orchestrated marketing.
I was surprised at how much, according to your reporting, he follows the media and follows social media.
Every photo, every statement, every carefully timed public appearance, all designed to weaponize maternal instincts for maximum profit. For Harry, hearing this must feel like discovering your entire reality was a stage production. The woman he moved mountains to protect, the mother of his children, the person he sacrificed his family relationships for, allegedly discussing their most sacred moments as business opportunities.
But she then admits that it was untrue. But her lawyer says Meghan didn't lie. Well, it's extraordinary how the whole thing is unraveling.
But that's just the beginning. Because these tapes have also reignited one of the most disturbing conspiracy theories that's followed the Sussexes since day one. You've probably seen the whispers online. The cruel speculation about rented children that's been dismissed as internet trolling for years. But suddenly, what was once relegated to the darkest corners of social media is being discussed in mainstream publications. Because according to sources familiar with the recordings,
Bully, for example, this idea that the royal family was conspiring with the press to bring them down. Where is the evidence?
It's always they. They never name them, except they did name Jason Knauf, the man who in the end exposed.
there are conversations that allegedly reference surrogacy arrangements and adoption procedures in ways that raise serious questions about transparency and royal protocol. This isn't just gossip anymore. Legal experts are now openly speculating about what these revelations could mean for Archie and Lilibet's royal titles, their legal status, and even their place in the line of succession.
And of course, they're furious with him. So the whole series ends with that statement on the screen which says, Knauf is the liar, not us. And that is the
Under British law, questions of parentage and legitimacy carry enormous constitutional weight. If there's any truth to these allegations, we could be looking at a crisis that makes the abdication scandal of 1936 look like a minor family disagreement. Social media has exploded into absolute chaos. Hashtags demanding proof and transparency are trending worldwide.
have a lot to answer for. If an established broadcaster in Britain or America produced that sort of succession, 6 hours of lives, they would be absolutely hounded out.
No balance.
Not in no balance, no
balance
truth,
whatsoever.
no criteria.
Sussex supporters are fighting back desperately, claiming the recordings are fabricated or taken out of context. But the damage is spreading faster than anyone can control it. Meanwhile, Buckingham Palace maintains its trademark silence publicly, but behind closed doors, it's apparently complete pandemonium. Senior courtiers are reportedly working around the clock, assembling their own evidence files.
What is the criteria? It is just propaganda. You know, Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's propagandist, would look with
Preparing for what could become the most explosive royal scandal in modern history. And here's what makes these tapes even more chilling. They allegedly span years of conversations, from before Megxit right up to recent months. If they're authentic, they paint a picture of someone who understood exactly how to manipulate media narratives, public perception, and even family relationships to achieve specific goals.
Success Netflix have achieved.
Because what they've done quite cleverly, right, especially for an international audience, because I know this is landing well. It's shocking.
Every decision about privacy, every choice about which events to attend or skip, every carefully worded statement about family conflicts, all allegedly part of a larger strategy that treated the royal family as stepping stones to something bigger. Even the decision to keep their children largely out of the public eye, which many praised as responsible parenting, is now being questioned.
Lawyer, academics who have always backed their side of the argument, to seem to give a balanced picture. It's as if you are what?
Was it really about protection? Or was it about maintaining control over their most valuable asset? The mystery and intrigue that keeps people hungry for more? The most heartbreaking aspect of these revelations might be what they suggest about Harry himself. Because if these recordings are real, they capture a man who sounds increasingly isolated, uncertain, and possibly manipulated.
Spoken to anyone at the palace?
But you know what's really extraordinary as well is that normally in making documentaries, which I did for more than 20 years at BBC, you film someone, that's it. This is all acted.
This isn't the confident rebel who walked away from royal duty. This is someone who sounds lost, confused, and struggling to reconcile his values with the reality he's found himself living. For everyone who's supported Harry's mental health journey and applauded his courage in seeking therapy and speaking openly about his struggles, this is devastating.
Pause, a little tear. Have you noticed how Meghan cries, but there's never a tear? The makeup is never
Because it raises the question, is he a victim of psychological manipulation, or has he become a willing participant in something that goes against everything he once stood for? The media response has been absolutely savage. British tabloids haven't held back, with headlines that would make even the most seasoned royal watchers wince. But it's not just the UK press. American media outlets, which have generally been more sympathetic to the Sussexes,
We found that clip of her, didn't she? Saying that one of her great talents is that she can cry on cue over the left side.
and you know the whole construction of her father.
are now asking harder questions and demanding clearer answers. Hollywood, which once embraced Meghan as a returning princess, has gone cold practically overnight. Industry insiders report that several major studios have quietly paused projects involving the couple, unwilling to risk association with what could become the scandal of the decade. Talent agencies are reportedly advising their clients to maintain distance until the situation resolves, if it ever does. The financial implications are staggering.
Before the wedding, totally left to his own devices, isolated, really felt abandoned. That's why he sold the photographs. We felt so besmirched.
Netflix and Spotify deals that were once seen as guaranteed gold mines are now looking like potential liabilities. Archwell Foundation is facing serious questions from donors and partners who are wondering what they've actually been supporting all these years. But the legal ramifications could be even worse. Because if these tapes are authentic, and if they reveal anything that crosses legal lines regarding surrogacy, adoption, or fraud.
And then, of course, Harry's saying, of course, Meghan's got no father. And now he doesn't have a father. They really are.
It's despicable.
We could be looking at investigations that span multiple countries and jurisdictions. The Sussexes' complicated dual citizenship status only makes things more complex, potentially triggering legal reviews in both the UK and the United States. International law experts are already speculating about potential charges ranging from fraud to immigration violations.
Speak to the Markles, you get to understand them. But actually, you can look at Meghan's own public statements. I mean, she stood up at the United Nations. That was her most famous appearance.
Depending on what exactly these recordings contain. And with both countries' legal systems involved, this could drag on for years, generating headlines and legal bills that could bankrupt even the most well-funded defense team. So where do Harry and Meghan go from here? They're facing the biggest crisis of their post-royal lives, with their reputations, their financial future, and possibly even their freedom hanging in the balance.
Before meeting Harry, and she praised Thomas Markle. She said he was a great father who instilled the values in her that allowed her to challenge that soap company.
Every move they make now will be scrutinized, every statement analyzed for hidden meanings and legal implications. They could fight back aggressively, launching their own legal assault and claiming the tapes are fabricated or illegally obtained. They could try to control the narrative by getting ahead of the story and releasing their own version of events.
She credited her father, and now she's sort of trying to say, oh yeah, he was a good dad, but I actually felt really lonely as a kid.
But I think what is also so terrible is that Harry never went to see the father.
Oh.
And why not? Because Meghan was ashamed of him. Because Meghan was already
Or they could retreat completely, hoping that silence and time will eventually make this nightmare go away. But here's the reality. In today's digital age, scandals like this don't just disappear. They follow you forever, showing up in every Google search and every background check.
Thomas Markle blames Doria. And Doria plays a really sinister role in this whole story. Because remember, for 10 years in Meghan's life, from the age of 5 to 18, more than 10 years, she disappeared.
But we never.
For someone who's built their entire post-royal identity on being authentic and transparent, these allegations represent an existential threat that could destroy everything they've worked to build. For Harry, the irony must be particularly painful. He left the royal family claiming he wanted to protect his wife and children from the same media circus that he believed killed his mother.
And she says at one stage, I went to every one of Meghan's plays at school. Of course she didn't. She was never there.
No, and also, Thomas Markle paid for the university fees.
And the school.
But now the biggest threat to his family's safety and future might not be coming from outside predators. It might be coming from within his own home. Tom Bower's explosive revelations have detonated what could become the most devastating royal scandal in generations. But this is just the beginning. The legal battles, the media investigations, the family confrontations. All of that is still to come.
Tom, look, can we look ahead? Because of course this isn't the end. You know, it's only a couple of weeks until we're likely to get the first leak of Spare, the Harry autobiography. Now, I hear lots of people, I disagree with them, but I hear lots of people saying, oh, what more damage can he do?
The world is watching and waiting to see whether this story ends in dramatic courtroom confrontations or quiet retreat into obscurity. But one thing is absolutely certain. The Sussex story will never be the same again. And neither will anyone who believed in the fairy tale they've been selling for the past 4 years.
the relationship with his father, the relationship between father and mother. I think there's a lot.
The question now isn't whether this will change everything. It's whether anything will be left standing when the smoke finally clears.